Now for tonight's meal, I'm going to make shepherd's pie. This is a wonderful dish that has a wide variety of vegetables. And to begin, I've taken 8 potatoes and I've diced them up. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add about equal amounts to each pan. And with that, I've diced up a whole onion, and again, I'm going to add equal amounts to each pan. Now this first pan, we're going to cover that with water and we're going to get that to a boil. This is eventually going to be mashed potatoes that I'm going to make a topping for the shepherd's pie with. So we'll get that started. And while that's going, we're going to go ahead and add the rest of our ingredients to our second pan. Now what I've got is, I've got 3 cups of fresh corn that I just took off the cob. I'm going to go ahead and add that. I've got 3 cups of carrots that I sliced. I've got a cup of green beans, a cup of celery, and last, a cup of fresh green peas. Now I'm going to go ahead and cover this with water, and this might take a bunch, and this is distilled water. And what I'm going to do is let both of these simmer until the vegetables are tender and until the potatoes are ready to be mashed. While the vegetables are cooking, I'm making the gravy for the shepherd's pie. Now I've taken 1/3 cup of whole wheat and I'm dry roasting it in a pan on a medium heat, stirring constantly so I don't burn the flour. Now when the flour gets to a golden brown, it's ready to be added to the blender. But first, I'm going to add 2½ cups of vegetable soup stock. Now the vegetable soup stock gives it more body. You can use distilled water, but this is my preference. And to that, I'm going to add 1/2 cup of nutritional yeast flakes. Go ahead and add my flour. I'm going to use just a pinch of nutmeg and a little Celtic sea salt, basically to taste. Now we're going to go ahead and blend that up into a creamy mixture. And then I'm going to add it back to my pan, and we're going to cook this until we get a nice thick gravy. Now you'll want to do this over a medium heat, and you want to stir it constantly so that you don't get it lumpy. Now I've drained the vegetables and the potatoes, and I've saved the potato water because we're going to mash these potatoes and we might need a little of the water to get a good creamy consistency. Now I cook these potatoes so they're very tender and they'll mash into a nice creamy mixture. I'll just add a little potato water. We don't want it too thin because this can be our crust for our shepherd's pie. That's looking pretty good right there. Now, we need to add some spices to our gravy. And what I've got is I've got 1/2 teaspoon of marjoram and 1/2 teaspoon of thyme. I'll go ahead and add that in, along with 3 tablespoons of freshly chopped basil. I'll stir that up. And the gravy is nice and thick, so it'll cling to the vegetables in the casserole. And with that done, I'm ready to pour my vegetables into a casserole dish. And I'll go ahead and spread those out. And then I'll mix my gravy in with that. You want to get this thoroughly mixed in. This makes a really wonderful dish, and the gravy gives the vegetables a wonderful body. just about ready to put our potato topping on. So I'll spread that out. Get it kind of nice and level. Then we'll take our potatoes and put that on top. Now I like to keep the potatoes to a creamy consistency, but thick enough that when you spread it, it doesn't get too blended in with the vegetables. It makes a wonderful crust. This is a very popular dish because it's so rich and hearty. Just finish that edge off. And we're ready to bake it. Now again, my oven was at 400 degrees. I'm going to put this in for about 20 minutes or until the crust gets to a nice golden brown. Now that's a shepherd's pie. Doesn't that look fantastic? This is a recipe that everybody asks for.